Media Center. We are now joined by today's runner-up in the Alabama 500, and that is none other than Ryan Newman, driver of the number 31 Caterpillar Chevrolet for Richard Childress Racing. Ryan, quite a race out there today. Please walk us through the final few laps from your perspective, please.
Yeah, that was about the only time I did race was the final few there, but a good run for the Caterpillar Chevrolet to get second. Wish we could have pulled it off. You know, it's one of those deals where you stay out front and caution comes out after you take the white. You look like a hero, but you start backing up to the guys behind you, and then next thing you know, you've got past, and then the caution comes out. So I kept my foot in it and did what I thought was right, and I basically got tag teamed or double teamed, and the 2 and the 22 got a good run past me. The 11 did a great job of getting me going at the start there. Kind of remind me of the old tandem days of drafting, but just not the end result that we wanted, but a good performance, and we needed that after my screw up last weekend.
Okay, we'll open the floor for questions. If you have a question for Ryan, please raise your hand. We'll get a wireless microphone to you. We'll start here with Jenna and work our way around.
Hey Ryan, so there was 3 red flags today, and there's 14 cars running at the end. I'm just wondering how to make these better races.
Oh, you're worried about that?
Well, I'm wondering. I wasn't worried. I said I was wondering. Are you worried about it?
No, I don't know. I don't know what. I don't know how to answer that. I don't know how, because what do you call a better race? First of all, that's a matter of opinion. I mean, it is what it is. Well, I don't think it's anything out of the ordinary or a super big surprise for this type of racing. It's totally different than what we had last week and what we'll have next week. So, it's again, it is what it is. I don't know that there's a desire to have a different product here at this type of racetrack.
Additional questions for Ryan? Do you have a question up in the press box?
Yes, they did.
Okay, we'll go to the press box for a question for Ryan. Okay, well, Ryan, thank you. Take care now.
Up. Ryan Newman, Christian Coley, onpitroad.com. I was wondering there at the end, you got out there pretty far. Was there any level of thought that you were going to have to block, but were you more worried about blocking, or were you more worried about getting taken out?
I was worried about it all. I was trying to maintain the lead and keep a distance, and block is what best I could without getting myself turned around, because you can overblock and be the guy at fault. So I just either did it right or didn't do it right, but either way I'm not in victory lane.
Well, Ryan, thanks for joining us. Good luck next week in Kansas.
I'm sure there's some more questions for the next guy.
Oh. We're now joined by Dale Earnhardt Jr., driver of the number 88 Mountain Dew Chevrolet for Hendrick Motorsports. Dale, not the result you wanted on your final trip around Talladega, but maybe one of your more adventurous runs around Talladega Superspeedway. Please walk us through the race from your perspective.
All right. Yeah, we took off there at the start of the race and saw the car had pretty good speed. We got a speed penalty and a couple of things, lost us a lot of track position. We were able to get up back through there and get it back and get up into the top 3 again, top 2, sitting there chasing Blaney and Chase. That was fun, running around the top with those guys, 'cause they're the future of the sport. So it's fun to link up and have some fun with those guys. And then, just got lucky on those wrecks. Just, things start flying around. Ain't nothing I'm doing. I'm just not getting hit, and not losing control of my car. Just really luck. But the last one knocked the right front end real bad and bent the splitter down about 1.5 inches and knocked it on the racetrack. And when we got going there on that last restart, it just wouldn't go, in the corners especially. So everybody around us was just wasting their time pushing us, and they sort of figured that out after a lap or 2 and decided to leave us alone. And we just kind of hung on there to get a 7th. But I thought the car had enough to win before we bent the splitter down. And it was a great car all weekend. This has been a hell of a weekend for me. And I'm glad to be able to finish well. That means a lot to me. I know a lot of folks came and traveled here to see us run, so I know they're disappointed we didn't win, but I'm glad they got to see us run the whole event, and hopefully they enjoyed it.
Okay, we're going to open the floor for questions. If you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll start with Jeff Gluck and then go to Jay.
Dale, Jeff Gluck from jeffgluck.com. I know that wrecks can happen anywhere, but this was probably the biggest threat to your health remaining on the schedule. After walking out of here with your health intact, is there any sense of relief?
Absolutely. Had some trouble here in the past. I think that anyone who questions our desire to be here and compete this year and our desire to run hard and race can look at the risks that we took this afternoon, knowing that any of those crashes would have probably given me a bit of an injury that would have held me out the rest of the season. So we definitely, it's hypothetical, but I think it says a lot about, being out there and competing, wanting to compete, showing that we want to compete, and working hard, racing hard. So this was one that I was worried about, and in the back of my mind I was a little concerned. But you can't win the race if you race scared, and I've raced scared here before, and you don't do well when that happens, so you have to block it out and just go out there and take the risks and hope that it's just not your day to get in one of those accidents. And it wasn't. So I wish we could have seen what we could have done with a straight car at the end, but we tried to push Brad into the lead, but the splitters on the ground so bad we got disconnected, and the 31 and 11 went right around us, and it was downhill from there. But yeah, I was worried about this one, and I'm glad we got through it.
We'll go next to Jay, and then we'll go to Bob, and then we'll go to Jessica.
Jay Busby, Yahoo Sports. Dale, you had a lot of time in the car there the last few laps to sit. Did you let the moment wash over you, the enormity of it, or did you just stay focused?
It's 110 degrees in there. Ain't nothing washing over you but your own sweat. I was sitting there cussing NASCAR the whole time, if you want to be honest with me. Like, why are we sitting here? It's going to be like a 3-lap race to the finish. Why can't we at least coast around and get a green-white checkered out of it? But I know that there's reasons to be sitting there, but it just it's not the most comfortable situation.
Go next to Bob, and then to Jessica.
Bob Hocker, ESPN. You said that you were glad just to finish, but your fans are disappointed. Do you feel any disappointment, and what do you feel about your chances to win in what's now kind of your last 5 races?
Well, I think we go to the racetrack with a positive attitude. We know we have one at some of these tracks coming up, and you just go in there with that good attitude and see how the weekend works out for you. And I don't think that we've lost hope on winning a race by any means. With the rest of the year, we can't. I wouldn't want a driver who felt that way, and I wouldn't want a team that felt that way either. So we'll go in there with solid attitude and see how it works out for us. I'm always disappointed when we don't run well at tracks I know we should. We did run well today, but I know that everybody was there's a little bit of air out of the bag there at the end there for to finish 7th. I know those folks were hoping we could put something together, and I know there's a lot of folks came here particularly to see this race because it's the last one here. So I hate them to leave slightly disappointed, but hopefully they enjoyed everything else they saw. I mean, we ran as hard as we could, did the best we could.
Go next to Jessica, then we'll go up to the press box for a question.
Jessica Ruffin of NASCAR.com. It's been such an emotional weekend for you, just coming to this track that has meant so much for you and your dad over the years, and then just you mentioned that it's really kind of starting to sink in that this is your last season, and this is the last time you're going to be at this track. Can you just describe the wave of emotions, this entire weekend and then throughout the race?
Yeah, I really do owe a lot to this track, and the support that we've had here from the fans. I owe a lot to them. It just has been a very fun place. This is when I was a little kid we got to go to a handful of racetracks throughout the year, and this was always a fun trip. There was a pay-to-ride go-kart track down where the hotels were, where all the drivers and everybody stayed, and I'd get $100 from Dad maybe, And then Brad Means and me and Scotty Williams, Doug's son, and Bob Wickham's son, Mike. Bunch of us would run over there and spend all our daddy's money riding go-karts. And we'd go over to the Hall of Fame and run around in that thing just all over, looking at all the cool stuff in there. And then during the race, we always pick on the folks that come to watch the wrecks, but me and the other boys, we'd run around the garage looking at the cars that came in there. They were broke or wrecked or whatever, and they just bring them in there and park them and leave them. We'd be looking at all that. Just so many good memories as a kid coming here. And that was back before hot passes and pit passes, garage passes. Man, you could run anywhere you wanted to go. And we was all over the place, having fun and goofing off. And then I got to come here. This is the first place I really run any laps outside of a late model car. Dad called me at the dealership and asked me to come here. They were testing the V8 car for the Xfinity Series. They were getting rid of the V6s. So I came out here and drove his car and with Dave Marcus, which was great. Me and Dave and Dad. That was 1994. So a lot of great memories here. And then obviously there's the career and cup here, 4 in a row. All those things mean a lot to me. So I hope to always have a great connection here. And trust me when I say that whatever the track needs from me, anytime they want anything, I'll be here to help promote and support this place, no matter what the request is. So they've done so much for me, and I want to remain very, very close.
Head upstairs to the press box.
Tucker White, SpeedwayMedia.com. Dale, with this being your last plate race, you retire with 10 restrictor plate wins in your career. Does it mean anything to you that you'll go down as one of the best restrictor plate racers in the history of NASCAR?
Absolutely. Anytime anybody says you're the best at anything, it's an awesome feeling. I can't deny that it feels awesome to hear that. People consider you good at anything. It's a great feeling. And I knew that I wasn't going to win 200 races and 7 championships and do all those great things. I just wanted to come in here and be considered talented. But to be great at anything was beyond my imagination. So I appreciate people's compliments on my plate driving and the success we've had at all the plate races.
Well, Dale, thanks for all the time you gave us this weekend, and
Absolutely.
Good luck next week in Kansas.
Appreciate y'all. Safe travels.
If I can have your attention now in the media center, we'll continue on with today's post-race media availability for the Alabama 500. We are joined by the winning crew chief, Paul Wolfe of the #2 Miller Lite Ford for Team Penske, and Team Penske President Bud Denker. Paul, I'm going to start with you. Ford, no surprise, having a lot of power here at Super Speedways. Ford has now swept the Super Speedways in 2017, and Team Penske once again coming into victory lane here at Talladega. What was the key that got you there today?
Well, to your point there, Ford sweeping the speedway races, hats off to Doug and all the guys at Roush Yates. They continue to work hard and bring us great power. And these Fords are, aerodynamically are great on these speedway races. And, individually, all the different teams are able to get a lot of speed out of these things. So, hats off to our guys back at Team Penske for continuing to push on the speedway program and getting more because, as we've been so good, you need to continue to find more as you move forward. And qualifying, I think, showed that we've been able to keep up with the progress that other teams have made with having our cars up towards the front and qualifying. The 22 obviously was very strong qualifying, and we were 6th. So just a lot of effort on these speedway programs, and we're trying to capitalize when we can.
But with the unpredictability that goes into super speedway racing, particularly here at Talladega, how nervous were you in those final laps watching the Blue Deuce trying to bring it home?
Well, I watched the races from the top of the grandstands, so I was up there in the very top, and which took me so long to get down here, but that was really something. It was so impressive also what Joey did come from the adversity he faced today and to come back and make it all the way to Brad to help push him across the finish line. And Ryan Blaney did a great job today too. Those stage points, you see now how important they are. They really are after his mishap. And then I think he had 18, and then Brad had almost ran the table today. So, but Joey did a great job today, and every car was fast out of our shop today. And but Paul and the team, despite the adversity they faced, they had an antenna get chopped off, right, from debris. That's a first for us, right, Paul? Yeah. So they overcame that with no communication for many, many, many laps, and then came in and made the call, and the call obviously worked. And now we're advancing to the next stage of the round with Brad and the team, and we can kind of go into Kansas, can't we, Paul, and kind of learn from it. So well done.
We're going to open the floor for questions. If you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll get a wireless microphone to you. We'll start with Jenna, then go to Jordan.
Jenna Fryer. Paul, I apologize. I have two questions. The first one, with the broken antenna, how did you communicate with Brad, and how did you get him into pit?
Well, it was tough, obviously. He was coming in and out, and obviously when he would come down the front stretch close to the pit box, he could hear a little bit of what we were saying, and I could hear him a little, but it was breaking up really bad. But, it was kind of the first couple opportunities we had to come down pit road, I kind of left it up to him because I couldn't tell how much he could hear or not. We didn't really need to hear what he had to say, but it was important for him to be able to hear the spotter. So those first few cautions, I was kind of leaving it up to him, and as it went on, I could tell by a couple of the runs there where we were losing all this track position, I really felt like it had to be because he wasn't sure. He was trying to clear himself, through his mirrors, and it's almost impossible to do that at a place like this. So it got to the point where I was like, to win this race, we're going to need the spotter. Like it's that important, and you hate to give up the track position, but I really felt like to win the race, that's what it was going to take. Obviously, you put yourself, in jeopardy when you lose that track position, getting caught up in the big one, and we were fortunate today to miss that and get through it, but ultimately, I knew we were going to need the spotter to win this race.
My second question, I know that every team comes to the racetrack intending to win. Brad got his first career Cup victory at Talladega. In 2014, he was in a must-win situation, and he got the win here. Do you ever feel like in these situations with Brad that you don't need to worry that he'll figure this out?
Well, as I looked at the playoffs, as we, try to understand, what we need to do in each round and look at our strengths and weaknesses, and, it's no surprise we know we're off a little bit to the Toyotas on the mile and a half, the downforce stuff. But I looked at Talladega in this round as an opportunity. Obviously, there's a chance you get caught up in it, but I told Brad, I've told the guys all along that this was going to be our path to make it to Homestead, and that was going to be winning Talladega. And I told Brad that again after the race at Charlotte last week on pit road when we didn't have the results we wanted. We ran very poorly for what's expected out of us at Charlotte. And I told him, we got to go to Talladega and win. And, to your point, when he gets in these situations, you're going to get the most out of him that he's got. Like I said, you got to have a little bit of help, a little lucky breaks, whatever you want to call them along the way. But I knew if we had that, our cars have been fast enough, and he's talented enough at these tracks that I knew we could get it done today.
Next to Jordan, then to Bob, then to Mike, then to Caleb.
Jordan Bianchi, SB Nation. Paul Dominey, you're right. Following up on Jenna's conversation, Brad said he didn't want to pit, and he felt he was fine. How did you convince him otherwise that he needed to pit and you need to address this situation?
Well, I mean, obviously he had the track position, and it's a very tough decision to give that up. But, gosh, there's so many moves that happen that I felt like he doesn't know about or can't tell through his mirrors, and I know how important that spotter is to help with that. So, like I said, I saw a couple moves, and honestly, I haven't obviously had the opportunity to discuss this with Brad, but we were up front, and then I saw us going backwards really fast, and I thought something was wrong with the car at first, but as it happened a few times, I started to believe that it had to have been just because he wasn't 100% confident in the move, and because he couldn't tell just by the mirrors. So I knew we weren't in a good position without the spotter, and ultimately, like I said, I knew our our car was fast. All the Fords were fast today, so I felt like it was worth the risk to give up the track position and come down and fix it right.
Next to Bob, then to Mike, then to Caleb.
Bob Hockris, ESPN. I have two. The first is, how in the world do you tell somebody that Talladega is a must-win situation? I mean, doesn't seem like that's a very good odds.
No, and like I said, you do have to have a little luck, but we haven't been lucky 4 times, or I guess we've won here 4 times. Brad's won here once with Finch, so you don't just get lucky 4 times. I mean, you that's having fast race cars. Like I said, a guy that's very talented at these style racetracks. So I had confidence. Obviously, I knew there was an opportunity we could come here and get caught up in the big one, as we saw our teammates had issues. The 21 was very strong and he had issues. But ultimately, you got to have confidence and know what your strengths are. And I knew this was our strength right now. And so you got to believe you can do it and hope for the best.
And so do you tell him when he gets up here that Martinsville is a must-win situation?
Absolutely. I think I've told my team that, we've looked at it. You got to be realistic about where you're at right now, where our cars are at speed-wise, what our strengths and weaknesses are, and you got to do your best to capitalize when you can. And absolutely, I look at Martinsville as, we need to go there and win. And if we can do that, we'll race for a championship.
Go next to Mike.
Mike Embry, USA Today. Paul, when did you lose the antenna? And could you have won this race without Joey's help there at the end?
And it's like I said, I obviously it's hard to say if we could have won it or not. I think we broke it there, kind of lose track and everything happened so fast. But somewhere there after, right before, it was after the second stage, I believe, before we were pitting there for the last time. And I don't know. It's really hard to say if we could have won without it, but I knew we could win with it. So I felt like that was the decision we needed to make there to give ourselves the best chance.
Go next to Caleb.
Caleb Whistler, KickingTheTires.net. Paul, how important, we know that Roush's engines are very strong here at Super Speedways. How do you feel going forward to the Martinsville, Texas, tracks like that with Roush's horsepower?
I feel good about it. Those guys have been working hard. They're very open to feedback from the teams, and whether it's from our team or Roush or Stuart Haas. It's good to have Stuart Haas in the mix now. They've got some input and some ideas, and I think as Ford as a whole, we all try to work together and all pulling in the same direction, and the engine shop's no different on that. And speedways have always been a strength and something Doug really focuses on, but they've been bringing us really good stuff to the other racetracks. Just seems like the short tracks are obviously a little less aero dependent, and we've been able to be a little more competitive at those. So that's where I look at Martinsville as the next opportunity.
Any additional questions? Gentlemen, congratulations on the triumph, and good luck in the next round.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I can have your attention here in the media center and up in the press box, we are now joined by the race-winning driver of the 49th annual Alabama 500, and that is Brad Keselowski, driver of the number 2 Miller Lite Ford for Team Penske. This was his 5th victory in 18 races at Talladega Super Speedway. That's a pretty good ratio for super speedway racing and for any racetrack in general. Walk us through how you were able to get it done today, please.
Yeah, it's of course a special day. Any day you can win, but to win at Talladega and for the 5th time is something I was never sure I'd ever have the opportunity to do. Just winning here once felt pretty incredible, and it's hard to believe that was 8 some years ago, and to win here again, it still feels pretty darn good. It doesn't feel much different. I'm a little older now, and but you never know when your first win or last win could be, and and I want to, of course, soak this one up and be thankful for it. And of course, there's a lot of carnage and other things that we were able to survive that give me good reason to be thankful for as well. But I think we made it through 3 big wrecks. And the races here at Talladega in the spring and both Daytonas, we got caught up in all the big ones. This one we made it through all the big ones, and I thought we were probably pretty strong in those other races, and it just didn't have the luck. Today we had the luck that we needed, and then we were able to execute at the end with the moves on the last 2 or 3 laps. So just really, really special win to be able to put it all together at the end.
Okay, we're going to open the floor for questions. If you have a question, raise your hand. We'll get a wireless microphone to you. We'll start here with Jenna, and we'll work our way around.
She's running for you. You are an important person.
That's so important. Jenna Fryer, AP. Congratulations, Brad.
Thank you very much.
Paul was in here earlier, and I asked him, I pointed out that your first Cup victory came at Talladega in 2014. You came here in a must-win situation. He told you at Charlotte that you had to come here and win.
Yeah.
So when you are in these positions, what is it that makes you able to step up and rise to the occasion and deliver in big instances?
Well, you love to be able to pat yourself on the back and say it's all skill, but there is some luck that's involved in this. In 2014 we were in one of the big wrecks, and it just hit us in an area. It didn't damage the car to affect its performance. Very similar here today, where we made it through the wrecks. But I feel like what's critical to be successful here, whether it's a cutoff race or must win or a not must win, is when you come here, that probably 3 out of every 4 races you're going to get caught up in a wreck or something like that happens. But the races where you have the good fortune, where you don't get caught up in a wreck or you don't have something break or any of those things, you have to take those races, run up front and win them. And I think that's what we've been able to do. So we wrecked out of the last 3 plate races, which really stunk because we had great cars at those, and I thought we made great moves and led a lot of laps. So coming here, it's kind of felt like a hand of cards where you're like, well, I can't keep getting the bad cards, so I'm going to get some good cards. And when you get them, you better make a good play with them. And I think we probably felt that coming into today. And being able to put that all together, Jenna, I would say, you have to take the races where you don't have bad luck and win at them. And that's what we've been able to do. And today was one of those days for us. No problem.
We'll go next to Bob, and then we'll go to Kelly, and then to David.
Bob Pocker, ESPN. After some of these races, you've talked about being a gladiator, and we've seen cars have been flipping and everything. There were a lot of hard wrecks, but all the cars stayed on the ground, and yet there were only 14 cars running at the end of the race. So is that less ridiculous than cars getting up in the air?
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like some weeks we race, and this is probably a little bit easier than it should be, and some weeks we race, and it's probably a little bit harder than it should be. And, if you probably average them all out, it's probably about right. So Talladega definitely brings it back to the more aggressive side. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. There's some weeks where, I kind of feel a little bad about the paycheck I earned for the workload, but Talladega ain't one of them. I'll tell you that right now. So I kind of take it in stride, and I'm just thankful to have the position I have. And, as far as the carnage is concerned, this year in particular, we've seen more carnage on the mile and a half than I think we did last year. And I think there's ebbs and flows to that are hard for me to explain or make any sense out of, because I felt like the last 2 years there wasn't a lot of crashes. So I don't know exactly what to make of that, Bob, but I was glad to come out victorious despite it. No, not really, because I thought the spring race at Talladega and Daytona in July especially had a lot of carnage and not a lot of cars left at the finish. So I don't know if I would say that.
We'll go next to Kelly, then to Caleb, and then to David, then to Caleb.
Kelly Crandall, Racer.com. Brad, your teammate was also up there making moves. Were you wondering what his agenda might be? Because there were times where it looked like he was going for it. There's other times where he was throwing big blocks on people. What was his agenda there?
Well, Joey and I are good friends, and I think great teammates, and I think that we have an understanding between each other that no matter what the scenario is, we don't expect each other to hurt themselves to help each other. But if you have a way of helping each other without hurting yourself, you try to take it. I think he made the block he made on the last lap or so. I don't know exact timing, because it was the right move to help his day, not necessarily to help mine. And at the end, he he made the move to win the race, and I just was able to execute the block. So, he didn't let up at all. He could have chose a different lane for sure, and probably had an equal shot at winning. He chose the one he did, and if it didn't work, it was going to benefit me, and that's kind of what happened, or in my opinion, from what I could tell. I don't think I would have won the race if he would have picked a different lane. I don't think he was trying to make sure I won the race. I think he was trying to make sure he won it, and it just didn't come together for him.
Go to David, then to Caleb, then to Jerry, then the press box.
David Morgan, Motorsports Tribune. Fords have won all 4 restricted pack races this year. What makes them so good on these type of tracks?
A number of factors. I would say the reliability is good. Some pretty good drivers for these type of tracks. It doesn't hurt. The deficiencies that we seem to have on the mile and a half tracks lend themselves to, probably proficiencies at these type of tracks. With the power band in the engine is, at the very high RPM, where the motors have been limited on the other tracks to very low RPMs. So that benefits us here, hurts us at other tracks. And the cars are quite a bit down on downforce for the mile and a halves compared to the rest of the field. But also quite a bit better on drag, which makes it advantageous for these type of tracks. So I think the strengths and weaknesses throughout the field right now are quite a bit different between the manufacturers, with this being the strength of the Ford package at this time, and you probably could say the Chevrolet package as well, with how they qualify and race here. So, in that light, we know that we have to come to these races and make something happen, because this is, our opportunity. And we'd like to find more to be more competitive on the mile and a half, but that's not the, opportunity as it stands right now. So we'll have to make the most of these.
Caleb.
Caleb Whistler, KickingTheTires.net. Brad, you talked about the advantage Roushay's horsepower has here and the disadvantage it has at other tracks. How do you feel going forward to, say, like Martinsville, Phoenix, Texas?
Well, the good thing about the first track you said was Martinsville is that you spin the tires there, so the engine, from a horsepower standpoint, is not as critical. When you can't put the gas pedal down, that's I think that's why we run so well there. If you look at the tracks where the Fords have won this year, it's been the tracks where you have very little rear tire grip, a lot of wheel spin, Sonoma, Martinsville, and it's been the super speedways. So I don't think that's a mistake by any means. But then I look at Texas, Kansas, and probably even Homestead and Phoenix, and we know those are tracks that we're not as good as we want to be. The 4-car seems to found a little bit more speed than the rest of the Fords, and he's close, but I think even he would say he's probably not exactly where he wants to be. So we can get caught up in deficiencies, or we can make the most of what we have, and I feel like we have a lot of opportunities in front of us, and I want to make the most of what we have.
Go next to Jerry, then the press box, then back down to Bob.
Jerry Jordan, KickingTheTires.net and PRN. I talked to Joey after the race. It was on his 300th start, he got a win. On your 300th start, you got a win. Several other drivers have gotten wins on their 300 start. What do you say about that? How does it make you feel to know that stat's out there now?
Yeah, I'm not real big in numerology. I know some people like it. I don't. I wouldn't. If this was number 299, I'd be just as happy. I'll be honest with you, Kerry. But it is still nice.
Let's head up to the press box for a question. Come in, press box. Okay, we're going to come back downstairs to Bob.
Bob Hockress, ESPN. Do you are you watching Final Lap?
Yeah, I caught like a brief glimpse of it. So sometimes I got no idea what happened either. Being honest with you. Go ahead. Sorry.
Do you feel that Martinsville is a must-win situation, and if you can win there, do you feel like you've almost kind of stolen a spot in the championship round?
Yeah, Martinsville at this moment as it stands, I would say, is a must-win for us, and we know that going in. We tested there, and we feel like that's a type of track that we have a lot of strength for. So at this point, yes, but that could change. So you hate to say it's still 3 weeks away, right?
Go over here to your right.
Over here. Hi, Taryn Walk, Tuscaloosa News. You had the Cheers to Dale Jr. on your car. How much did that mean to you, and what was the mindset to do that?
Yeah, there was a lot going on this weekend, and that was one of the special ones for sure. At the start of the year, we were very fortunate because not everybody gets these opportunities, but Miller Lite told us that we could take the car for 2 races and put whatever paint scheme we wanted to put on it. And they gave us here and Phoenix, and we were able to take our car for Phoenix and do something with our charity to celebrate Veterans Day that we're really happy about, and then take the paint scheme here at Talladega. And we were trying to come up with the right idea, and it was kind of a duh moment when we said Talladega and we get a special paint scheme. Well, we should do something to honor Dale for that, with respect to the opportunity he gave me earlier in my career, and the white 88 Navy car. So it was kind of a perfect fit, and it was nice to be able to show some love and respect to him for everything he's done for me and for the sport. I think that's something that we can all be grateful for in a lot of ways. And I was happy to do that. I knew coming in here it was going to be tough because people saw me run the paint scheme, and I think they expected I was going to let Dale win. But one of the great things about competition, and I think about Dale, is that I think he respected the car and what it meant to run that kind of paint scheme, but didn't expect for us not to try to beat each other. And that's exactly what we tried to do. And he pushed me to the limit and did a great job.
Okay, we're going to go back up to the press box for another try.
LeeSpencerMotorsport.com. Brad, I guess it was at Daytona in 2016. We sat upstairs in the press box and we watched the Toyotas gather up together, work out a game plan, and Denny Hamlin went to the finish of the Daytona 500. Since then, the Ford camp has won the last 7 races. You guys came in with a strategy this weekend. Can you just talk about how that evolved to have that kind of gamesmanship among you all and push you to the 7th consecutive win for Ford?
Yeah, it's a big number. There was I think other things that happened. We got beaten, kind of embarrassed at Daytona in 2016 for the 500, and I think we all felt like at that point we hadn't done enough homework and that we needed to get back to work. In a lot of ways, that's exactly what we did. So that was definitely a hitting right between the eyes. But I also think that the Ford drivers and teams are, cognizant of how difficult these races are to win by yourself. Again, nobody expects, at least I don't expect, I should say, that anyone to pull over and let me win a race. But, if there's an opportunity to help a Ford win, we want to see that happen.
But the fact that you guys, from the weekend, when the weekend started, you guys were out there practicing together, pulling together. It just seemed like one team effort among the
I would say that
guys.
for sure. No, it's a good way to summarize it. And, there's some, conveniences to that with respect to not having too many cars in the packs and risking getting wrecked and so forth, and pit strategies and whatnot. But, it also can be difficult sometimes. But I think in general I'm really happy with how all the Ford teammates have embraced each other because we want to see Ford be successful.
Okay, we're going to come downstairs here to Jim.
Jim Utter, Motorsport.com. The decision to pit to fix the radio. I believe Paul said when he was in here that he didn't think you could win if you couldn't talk to your spotter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, did you have a role? I don't know what you could hear at the time. Did you have a role in that decision, and what did you think about it?
Paul was about the only one I could hear. He had some big old honking radio that broke through all the antennas, I guess, and interference, and I heard him say pit, and I don't want you to say pit. But I have to respect that they can see things I can't see. I feel like that's what transpired. He said it, and I was going, oh, God, I hate this. But we pitted, and it worked out. I'm still not sure what broke, but they did a great job fixing it. Thanks, Jim.
Well, Brad, congratulations on victory number 24 in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series.
Thank you very much.
Good luck on your pursuit of number 25.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.